Are your productivity tools still meeting the needs of your business? Whether your current solutions aren't keeping up, or you're just starting out, Microsoft 365 productivity tools are designed to grow with your business. From AI-powered productivity to comprehensive security, here are the top 5 reasons to choose Microsoft 365. Using multiple tools from various vendors can be expensive and time-consuming. Microsoft 365 lets you consolidate to a single solution to reduce licensing and administration costs while streamlining productivity with consistent and familiar experiences. As your business grows, so can your exposure to risks from bad actors, malware, and other cyber threats. Microsoft 365 provides centralized identity, security, compliance, and privacy control to protect your users, data, and devices. This comprehensive protection helps avoid costly business disruptions that can slow down operations and erode customer trust. You need to be able to easily communicate with internal and external audiences. Microsoft 365 gives you the flexibility to collaborate with coworkers, partners, and customers through web, desktop, or mobile apps. Use a single solution to call, chat, meet, co-author files, and even work with other tools, while professional webinar capabilities help you gain customers and build your brand. Some days the pace of business makes it challenging to keep up. AI can help you work smarter, unlock creativity, and give your business an edge. Quickly catch up on missed meetings, draft an email to customers, design a presentation. AI-powered capabilities in Microsoft 365 and Copilot help you save time and focus on what matters most. Migrating to a new solution isn't always easy, but keeping one that won't grow with you can be even more costly in the long run. Whether you're starting from scratch or upgrading your current productivity solution, we have extensive resources available to help you set up and adopt Microsoft 365 with confidence. There you have it, the top 5 reasons to choose Microsoft 365. Visit aka.ms/whymicrosoft365 to learn more.
Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to kick off day 2 of your Microsoft 365 community conference with expert tips for a successful migration to Microsoft 365. I'm your host, Rolly Mariano. I'm from Microsoft. A little about me. My job is I focus on the why Microsoft 365, but also the how Microsoft 365. How do we get you to Microsoft 365 and have a successful migration and adoption, consolidating tools in the case for many of you, mostly. This is just 24. I added a few more there. This is my 24th year at Microsoft, and let me answer a question right off the bat. I did start when I was 10 years old, and my height hasn't changed pretty much, since then. But speaking of change, one of my passions is helping customers and advising them through technological shifts and changes. I've been around a long time. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've guided and advised customers, including when I was a technical specialist in the field, working on site with customers like you. And I've guided them through moving to the cloud from on-premises solutions to enabling the workforce using smartphones and mobile devices. During the pandemic, I was the remote work go-to-market lead at Microsoft. So I helped, companies enable remote work. And then after that, hybrid work. And then now we're at the cusp, of another big wave of change. I'm part of the team that's helping guide, and advise our customers through and helping embrace the future with AI. I am joined by esteemed panel here. I have my colleague Troy Starr, Principal Product Manager, also from Microsoft. And then we have our guest speakers and panelists, who we're all grateful so much for joining us. Jack Coots is from Intel. He's a digital transformation lead. And then we have Ryan Short, Solution Development Executive, and Stefan O'Connor, Workplace Collaboration Practice Director. Both are from Insight, DK in the UK, one of our Microsoft 365 partners. We'll get to hear a lot more, during the panel discussion from our guests today. Let's dive in. The AI era is no longer on the horizon, as we all know. It's here, and it's reshaping, how small and medium-sized businesses operate. And with AI comes a new set of questions. How do we secure our business as we start to use AI? How can we simplify our IT administration and infrastructure, and while supporting a diverse distributed workforce? How much should we invest in productivity tools today, while preparing for AI driven growth? But without overspending, blowing out our budgets, right? In short, like, the question really is, how do we make sure we enable you to have your teams equipped with the right tools, not just for where you are today, but for where you are going. Yeah. As your business evolves, so do your needs, and we know that we have the solution for you that allows you that goes with your business. A lot of small businesses start with tools that are familiar or free. That works great at first, but as the business grows, those tools start to show their limits. You add one app for meetings, another app for chat, file sharing. Before you know it, you've got a dozen different tools and solutions to license and manage, and for users to learn, right? So while a lot of you, when I quickly poll the room, are already on Microsoft 365, there's still probably an opportunity to reevaluate your IT infrastructure, the tools that you're using. Maybe there's an opportunity to consolidate and be more efficient. And we've got the solution, for you there with Microsoft 365. It's not just for when you're starting out, but when your business starts to grow, as hopefully most of you are starting to realize. Our solution can scale effortlessly. We've got a choice of subscription plans that give you flexibility to add features and capabilities as your business grows. How peace of mind. One of the things that we would like to see our customers have is not having to worry about changing their IT infrastructure all the time. You've got a platform that can support you for the future. Now, for those that are still on the fence, about consolidating your various tools for Microsoft 365, you played a short video at the start. Just want to highlight a few points there. There's the consolidation efficiencies. We'll hear more about that, when we get to our panel discussion. Using multiple tools, from various vendors can be expensive and time consuming. So there's an opportunity there to look at and fully utilize Microsoft 365 as a single solution that can address a lot of your needs. There's a comprehensive security that we are known for. Microsoft runs and Frost in our solutions, are built on that foundation. And as your exposure to risk grow, as you heard from the security keynote yesterday, the speed of attacks, will just grow in scale, speed, and sophistication. So we are hoping that you bet on Microsoft 365 to keep up with that, or stay ahead of that, of those risks. Flexible collaboration. I was chatting with a number of you during the conference, and what I've heard is that you want a solution that helps you to collaborate with not just with coworkers or with fellow employees, but also with your partners and customers. And a lot of you have decided, or maybe should consider this moving to Microsoft 365 because of how you interface with your customers, your vendors or suppliers or consultants, extended teams and consultants. Consider Microsoft 365 as a way to collaborate with a common tool that they're using as well. Reason 4, AI-powered productivity. All throughout this conference, you've heard us, talk about how we can enable a future with AI through our solutions. And then lastly, migration adoption support. This is probably like the reason why we're here, and our insight. And after chatting with several of you during this conference, the tools and resources and services available to you to help you with your migration adoption is probably not well known. I did a little experiment, earlier in the week. I tried to co-pilot, what are the resources and tools available to migrate and adopt Microsoft 365, and it didn't discover all of it, So today, I will be your co-pilot, and I've curated, all the resources, tools, and services that are relevant for small and medium businesses. And we have an expert panel today to talk you through some of those options as well. And so, what are the common concerns for you and maybe other businesses like you? We know change isn't always easy, but with the right planning, resources, and support, hopefully that'll be the takeaway from today. It doesn't have to be hard. Many customers share concerns about moving data, integrating existing systems, getting users up to speed. The good news, with these challenges can be addressed with thoughtful approach and the right tools. So hopefully that'll be the takeaway from today. And we have an expert panel, and you'll get a chance to ask questions, from our panel today about concerns you might have, and how they address that. There's a wide range of resources available to help you migrate and adopt Microsoft 365. Some you may know already, like Rolly, I know all this, but some of it, hopefully you will discover some that you haven't discovered before, and we'll go and check it out, after this session or after you get back, to your businesses. So there's the self-service resources, including essential tools and training materials available in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. We'll see a demo of some of one of these tools to help with migration later on from Troy. For additional support, you can tap into more specialized expertise. There's Microsoft Fast Track to provide remote guidance for eligible customers. But we have in the various other support services for Microsoft. And of course, we have our partners, represented here by Insight, will help you through your migration and adoption project and initiative. So with this broad set of options, you hopefully see that there's a set of resources, and you can feel confident that we do got you every step of the way to Microsoft and their partners together. Let's start with Microsoft 365 Fast Track, as we have some great news to share about Fast Track today. Great. So let's start with what is Fast Track? It's a service designed to help you seamlessly deploy Microsoft 365 solutions to better allow users to effectively and productively deploy our solution. It provides remote guidance to help you learn, prepare, and deploy Microsoft 365 quickly and efficiently. And there's what's available from Fast Track. You've got deployment guides available to all customers for Microsoft 365. For those with 150 or more, you qualify for remote guidance, through a Fast Track specialist, just to help you simplify your deployment. And today, our big news is we're announcing that beginning June 2025, Microsoft is expanding eligibility for Fast Track data and email migration assistance for customers with 150 or more licenses. So that's big news, hopefully good news for especially like the medium, small, medium-sized businesses that we serve. That's a significant reduction from the previous 500 license limit. We've heard you, we want access to our help. And now that includes data, email migration, assistance, and service. So I believe that you appreciate the change there. Let's take a look at some of the other resources available to help you successfully deploy Microsoft 365. Not many of you, and again, after chatting with several of you during the conference, you may not be aware that as a Microsoft 365 customer, you actually have support, that comes with no additional cost to your license subscription. We've got help for simple migrations. We recommend this for small, businesses, in accounts with 130 employees. You have access to a business advisor that can help you with with basic questions about your migration and deployment and about our solution in general. So access to a business advisor comes at no additional cost when you have a Microsoft 365 subscription. But we also have some paid services tailored for smaller businesses, like for 1 to 50 seat customers, we have Business Assist. And then for those with 51 to 500 seat employees, if you will, we have professional direct support. So you've got some paid options as well. It doesn't have to be that big. Unified support contract. If you're a smaller business, we've got options or to help you with with our support services. Now, let me introduce Troy, Principal Product Manager at Microsoft, my colleague here, who will provide a demonstration of one of the tools at the Microsoft Admin Center. Introduce you to that as well if you haven't used it, to help you migrate from Google Workspace and Gmail.
Thank you, Raleigh. And thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to come and talk to you about some of the investments that we're making to make it easier for small and medium-sized customers to migrate to Microsoft 365. Now, first, I'd like to talk to you about the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, which is available at admin.microsoft.com. Now, this is your starting point to set up your Microsoft 365 account and services. Here's where you'll basically set up your users, your groups, assign licenses, subscription, configure billing settings, and more. Now, you may think, well, once I've done all that, I don't need to access the Admin Center anymore. And that's not actually the case. The Admin Center is a great resource that you'll want to use throughout the lifetime of your tenant in Microsoft 365. It provides access to additional admin centers where you can more deeply manage your email, your collaboration tools through SharePoint and Teams, security settings, and more. So I hope everyone will take the time to learn more about the Admin Center and all the capabilities that it exposes. And one of those great capabilities is the ability to migrate to Microsoft 365. It is our gateway to all of our migration tools to help you to get onto the service. So let's actually talk about our existing tools for migration. So as some of you may know, we already today have tools to help you migrate emails, for example, to Microsoft 365. You can migrate from a variety of different sources, including Exchange Server, including Gmail, and other IMAP-compatible services. Now, that being said, take Gmail, for example. The tools that we have today, they're really geared more toward enterprise-sized customers, customers that might have like more than 1,000 mailboxes. Those tools are really designed for those enterprise customers that have a full IT staff that can handle all the fun Microsoft white papers that you get to follow to do all these configurations and follow the right processes. This existing tool that we have, it does require some fairly technical configuration of different configuration files, including JSON files, managing service keys to set up the secure connection between Google and Microsoft 365, and so on. And unfortunately, this tool does not really provide a very helpful UI for those customers that are looking for that. Admins need to provide a CSV file that individually lists each mailbox that they want to migrate into our service. And so there's no sort of automatic discovery for that. And this experience, like it's pretty optimized for those enterprise-sized customers, customers who might want to perform migrations in batches. So for example, you migrate department by department, so you can kind of space out those migrations over time and make sure that each department is successful in their migration. So again, yeah, we have these existing tools, but that again, it may not be the most optimal experience for small and medium-sized customers. I mean, sure, some of you out there might love the idea of, reading through a big white paper and, setting up some PowerShell scripts, managing JSON files and so on. But that isn't the typical experience for our small and medium-sized customers. So as we go to the next slide, we will actually look at a new tool that we've just introduced that really focuses on small and medium-sized customers to make it easier for them to migrate from Gmail to Microsoft 365. This new tool, it is available to small and medium-sized customers, which are customers up to 1,000 mailboxes. And it really is optimized for that experience. Instead of manually configuring different JSON files and service keys and other sort of very technical things, we've introduced a new Microsoft 365 mail migration and calendar sync app that you can install, and it will handle all of those configuration details for you. It's a wonderful experience, which I can't wait to show you in just a minute. Once this app is installed, it will automatically begin discovering all of the mailboxes in your Google Workspace tenant. So you won't have to worry about any details in terms of like putting together the list of the mailboxes, uploading any CSV files, et cetera. It's doing all that work for you. And once that's done, It provides an intuitive UI so that you can easily select which mailboxes you would like to migrate and how you'd like to do that migration. It's all can be done with just a simple click of the button. So with that being said, would people be interested in seeing a demo of what this looks like? All right. So I'm actually going to, yes, I'm going to switch over to my laptop. What you're seeing right now is our sort of test Gmail mailbox here. And this user happens to be Alex. And we see Alex, he has this set of emails in here, including this email here that says, hey, everybody, we're announcing that we're going to be switching over from Google Workspace to Microsoft 365. Can't wait for all the exciting opportunities that provides. Now, to move forward with that, we do need to actually install the migration app and get that going. So I'm going to play this little video here that explains the first part of that, and then we'll switch over to a live demo. You can see it in more details.
It's easy to set up the simplified Gmail migration tool. You'll start in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, then go to Setup and click Migration and Imports. From here, click Google Workspace to reach the Google Workspace migration landing page. In the Migrate Gmail card, click the Get Started link. Now it's time to authenticate to Google as your Google Workspace tenant administrator. Just follow the wizard, which will walk you through the authentication process, installing the Microsoft 365 Mail Migration and Calendar Sync app, giving the app permissions to access the data you want to migrate, and setting up the connection. You only need to do this once. Your connection settings will be saved for all future migrations.
All right, I'm going to take a little pause there. So what you just saw is us setting up that mail migration app in the Google Workspace tenant. And once that is set up, it begins to automatically discover your mailboxes in Google Workspace. So now I'm going to switch over to our actual live demo here. And so here I'm in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So I'm going to Setup, clicking on Migration and Imports. And here I see our Google Workspace migration landing page. Now, I've already previously set up this app for this. So I'm going to wait for this to load, and then I'm going to click on View All Migrations. So this is taking me to the actual migration management page for our Google Workspace Gmail migration. Now, here you can see all the key details of the mailboxes that it's discovered. So for example, we see the email address, display name, type of content, which in this case are our user mailboxes, including an estimated size of the mailboxes there, and the migration status of each of those mailboxes. Now, if you have a mix of mailboxes that are under, say, 80 gigabytes and over 80 gigabytes, those will actually just be displayed in two separate tabs, so you can better manage migration of sort of smaller mailboxes versus larger mailboxes. Now, of course, if you have many mailboxes in your tenant, hundreds or even up to 1,000, it might be hard to kind of find the mailbox that you're looking for. So we provide this search functionality right here, where you can type in a user's name to find them quickly. So for example, I might type in Patty, and there it is. Patty's right there, easy for me to find. Now, in terms of migrating mailboxes, you can select a single mailbox, you can select multiple mailboxes, or you can select all mailboxes to migrate. Now, once you've made your selection, you'll go ahead and click the Start Migration button to go to the next step. Here you'll see that we have a set of content that we migrate by default, and that includes your emails, calendar items, contacts, and permissions and delegations. You also have the option of choosing to migrate your rules and tasks. So it's up to you what you want to migrate. In addition, we provide filtering options to help you decide what to migrate. You can choose to migrate all content from all time, content that happened before a specific date, content that happens after a specific date, or content that falls within a date range. And finally, we have some advanced filtering options where you can choose to migrate either specific folders, or you can choose to exclude specific folders. So for example, you might say, migrate everything except for my junk mail folder, because who wants to migrate their junk mail? So once you've decided what you want to migrate, you'll set those settings and then click on the Start Migration button. And that will basically create a migration job for you, where that will then kick off to our migration service. And our migration service will then establish an encrypted connection directly between Google and Microsoft to begin migrating your mailbox for you. Once that migration is finished, that email will then, and that content will then be available in Outlook in Microsoft 365. When you've finished migrating all the mailboxes that you want to migrate, you'll click on the Complete Migration button that will appear in the toolbar. That will signal to Microsoft that you're now ready to switch your mail flow from coming from Google to actually now coming from Microsoft 365. At that point, you'll update your MX record in DNS to have mails get delivered directly to Microsoft, and you're all done. So I had previously done this migration for this one Alex mailbox, and here we can see Alex's old Gmail mailbox. And now here we see Alex's new Microsoft 365 mailbox in Outlook. And in fact, if we look at that same message from Lynn here, we see that announcement about switching to Microsoft 365. So here we see all of Alex's email migrated successfully over to Outlook, and he's ready to get started. So that was just a quick demo there, and what I'm proud to announce is that this experience is rolling out right now, and it's already available to the majority of production environments. So if you access the Microsoft Admin Center today, there's a very good chance that you will see this environment, or you'll see this experience right now. So I hope you'll try it out, give us your feedback, and if you have any questions about this, come talk to us at a roundtable that we're going to have at 10 a.m. today in room 251. Thank you, everyone.
So much, Troy. Score, within the self-service tool category, we have the adoption hub. So with the Microsoft 365 adoption hub, how many have seen this? So you've migrated your tools to Microsoft 365. How do you drive adoption, with your end users? In the adoption hub, you've got easy to follow how-to guidance that walks you and your team, your fellow employees, coworkers through the best way to roll out Microsoft 365 to your organization. But it also gives you guidance on how your organization, not just for switching to Microsoft 365, but it also covers like during and after this switch to Microsoft 365. So check that out. Another resource, subservice resource available to you that I want to highlight here is we actually created something specifically for when you're switching from another solution or consolidating from tools from another solution. We created something called the Switch to Microsoft 365 Resource Center, right? So it's to orient your end users. You're coming from a solution, let's say like Google Workspace as an example. It has some helpful videos and articles to provide a great foundation for your teams to get started so that they can be productive, from day one. And you will see a lot of resources there to help them familiarize themselves with, well, how do I do the things I used to do it in the tool I was using before? How do I access my apps? How do I work in them and do like the basic things to help them get productive from day one, like sharing a file, co-authoring a document, scheduling a meeting, or even just accessing the various apps that are equivalent to what you're using before. We created videos there. And if you like what we started there, we can create more of these to help your users get more familiar with with Microsoft 365. Now, one of the main points for our session today is to give you the range of options, whether you're choosing to do it all yourself or do most of it yourself. You've got self-directed resources, self-service resources, or if you want to, to get help or do a combination, right? Get help from our partners. We're very proud of our partner kind of ecosystem. We got Insight is, part of that valued ecosystem that we have to help you, our cloud service providers in general, to play a significant role by providing you with seamless solutions, the deep expertise from their lengthy experience implementing and managing Microsoft Cloud services. So you can draw on that expertise and avoid some of the pitfalls that comes with an initiative like migration and moving out of a different solution. Similarly, our customers are invaluable to us in it can be invaluable to you as well in terms of sharing their experiences and learn from each other, right? So this whole conference is about community, the community of Microsoft 365 customers helping each other, helping to make helping each other to make our solutions, and support better today, tomorrow. You're part of like what supports you when you go onto Microsoft 365. And we are honored, Ashley, to have representatives on our panel here today that represent both our customer community and our partner communities here, right? And so the next half, of this session really is we'll just have a very casual, conversation, with our Jack, Ryan, and Stefan here. I think you can tell that we obviously didn't think this all the way through. I called it a fireside chat. We're in the desert, we're in Nevada, we're in the desert. It's daytime, and but hopefully you can imagine that, the intent is really like, let's have a casual conversation.
Thanks, Rolly. I'm Jack Coots from Mintel. Mintel is a market research company. So we work predominantly in the consumer space, providing insights and helping our clients predict the future and win against their competition. So my role at Mintel is digital transformation lead. So helping us as an organization modernize and start to recognize how we can become more efficient and really find new ways to allow our staff members to focus on what's valuable and not what's unvaluable, which is boring admin work, process, stuff that gets in the way of them recognizing what's right for our clients. So a big part of that digital transformation at Mintel is migrating from Google to Microsoft 365. So that's a big part of my role right now.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Jack, could you tell us a little bit more about like the business context, initiative, business pain points, objectives? How did you decide to migrate to Microsoft 365? What were the primary drivers for Mintel?
Sure. So I think there's a couple of drivers for us initially. Mm-hmm. Part of it was looking at our overall platform decision. A couple of years ago, we were looking across our different list of suppliers and we recognized we had a lot there. And part of that was because we made siloed tech decisions over a number of years. And actually, we're looking at the list of 56 suppliers that we felt like we could reduce dramatically down to a handful. So that was one of the big drivers was the data integrity across having so many platforms was really difficult, as well as the inefficiencies that drove. The other part of it was looking at future development around AI. I'm really wanting to find a partner that we felt like we could trust and would enable our organization to embrace the advances happening there. And transparently, our COO turned around to me and said, "Hey, Jack, I want to have a AI tool for every single employee at Mintel, and I don't want to spend any more money. So go make it happen."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that totally makes sense, And when a lot of the businesses we have are deciding, will they get help as they go through their migration, or will I do most of it myself? How did you choose the path of like self-directed, and then how did you go about like choosing a partner like Insight?
Yeah, I think one of the big helps for us was a relationship directly with Microsoft early on. So recognizing where we could get that advice from them to guide us down the right path for the organization. And really what we got to was we didn't have the expertise or the resource internally to be able to manage that migration ourselves. We're an organization of 1,200 employees. We span across the globe, so we're in most markets globally. And to take out our IT support team to focus 100% on migrating us from Google to Microsoft would have been too expensive from a resource perspective for us to consider. So what that enabled us to do then is go down the partner route. And for me, one of the biggest benefits is we've been able to find a partner in Insight who we have that trust with, where we know they've done this hundreds of times. We will do it once, and hopefully we will only do it once. So having a partner who's done it hundreds of times really enables us then to focus on the people part. And, really the technical side is a solved problem. And I'm sure some of you who are going through it at the moment or have been through it in the past will know that I'm sure every project or every migration comes with different challenges. And I know the Insight team can talk to that, but effectively the nuts and bolts of it are the same. So the question we ask ourselves is, why would we learn how to do that when there are people out there who have done it a number of times that we can trust?
Absolutely. Earlier in the program, we talked about the common customer concerns, and I'm sure that's on the minds of a lot of people in the audience today: cost and complexity, potential data loss, security concerns, the downtime, for the business and for end users, system compatibility, change management, So Jack, first for Mintel, which of those concerns were concerns for Mintel, and how did you think about mitigating those concerns, or addressing those concerns?
All of the above at 100%. I think the cost one is the one that jumps out first to me. We knew that the services we were looking for from Microsoft were going to be more expensive than the direct replacement with Google. And like I said, I had a very clear brief. Our COO didn't want to spend any more money, but he wanted to have more capability in the stack. So I'm sure we've all lived similar experiences in the past. So that's where we were able to get a bit more inventive and start looking at the number of suppliers that we could replace as part of the migration. So that got us close to the budget we needed. The other side of it is looking at other services Microsoft offer. So our digital transformation isn't just migrating from Google to Microsoft. We're also moving our CRM as well. And that's where we're able to actually offset the cost really well, because we're currently a Salesforce customer. Salesforce is very expensive. Microsoft Dynamics is a little bit cheaper. So we're actually able to reallocate budget as part of that. So that was a really big positive, and that dealt with the cost question very quickly. The other elements around data migration, data loss, drop-in service, etc., they're all real life concerns, and that's for us why we want to go down the partner route, having a partner who has gone through those lessons, gone through some of those pains in the past, learned all of that over years and years of experience, and are able to bring that into Mintel. Gives us that confidence that we can focus on the people element more so than the technical. So we have that technical support. We have our IT support team there who are co-creating with the Insight team around the design element. And I would say it has been a very co-created design so far. But then it's enabled my team on the project management side to really focus on the people part. And that for me is the more trickier element of any projects like this, because of the change in adoption curve is steep. And people are a little bit more finicky than technology. Technology, you can throw people out, you can solve it, you can get expertise. You can't force someone to change. And that takes time, it takes effort, it takes the right level of intention to help each individual recognize what it is for them, what the change means for them, why they should embrace it. And I think if we hadn't gone down the partner route, for us, we'd have been so focused on the technical, getting that right, we'd probably missed the people part along the way.
I love what you said, Jack, about the business deciding, which ones do you want to be in the lead, in taking care of, and where you would involve a partner, to get help with. It's kind of deciding, where to focus your time and resources on. And speaking of Insight, and the help that you're getting from Insight, I'm sure our audience here would love to hear from Ryan, Stefan. Tell us a little bit about Insight UK, the project you're doing with Mintel. And your role in the digital transformation that Jack was talking about at Mintel.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, good morning. Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Ryan Short, and I work in capacity of solution leader in Insight. And my role specifically is to really get underneath the bonnet of our customers' business, and understand the objectives and what they're trying to achieve within the Microsoft 365 stack. And it does extend beyond that. As Insight being a global solution integrator, we have that, I like to call it end-to-end process, but actually, is there an end to a solution? I like to call it a solution lifecycle. That continuous delivery is once you get underneath the bonnet of the business, understand our customers' objectives, and then pave the way and build that strategy with them and help them along the way. And that's certainly something that we've done in this instance with Mintel in their journey on the migration from G Suite into M365 E5. and Copilot. So a lot of the work that we do as a business, of course, migrations in the modern workplace practice is our bread and butter, but things like looking at a cloud-first strategy, migrations in that space as well. How do you do things like migrations and other works in this space securely? How do we work and strategize around perhaps a zero trust methodology and things like this? So it's really interesting talking to businesses from what we call small medium. So anywhere from a couple of hundred users, right the way through to what we call that enterprise space, where 5,000 users plus across multiple industries. From legal, engineering, marketing. You name it, we've got a lot of experience in different fields, all bring certain different levels of complication and challenges, and then of course risk. I know we're probably going to get on to flesh out a bit more on some of the questions and conversations we're having today, but that's our safe space. We really try and keep our customer at the heart. And really understand their ways of working, and perhaps even, it's not just about suggesting ways of improvement. I know a lot of what's been discussed so far this morning, and of course yesterday, and things that we're picking up on, is how we can use technology to improve that collaboration. What does the future state look like once you've made that investment? How can we really improve on that return on investment in that technology that you invested in?
Appreciate that, Ryan. I'd love to hear from Stefan, as the technical design lead for the plan, to help Mintel. Can you tell us about your overall approach, philosophy, and how you created a plan to help Mintel be successful, in their migration?
Yeah, certainly, and good morning. So the migrations always start off with two views, which is the client's view about how they think the migration is going to go, and then there's the reality of how the migration is going to go. So we always start off with a workshop to try and understand what the actual business wants to get out of it at the end of the project. So the actual technology journey is a well-trodden path for us. So it's quite a well understood run book process of how do you get data from A to B. But generally, if you're using if you're doing mailbox migrations, you've probably got applications, you've probably got websites, you've probably got big identity stacks and open source. So it's how do you migrate your works flows to Microsoft, but also don't disrupt the business, get that economy of scale during the migration, and how do you make sense of business change during that adoption? So you might move all your mailboxes, for example. I think to date, you've got about 160 design decisions just on the Mintel piece of work. A lot of that is around, okay, which applications do I move first? How does that affect my identity? Does it interact with a mailbox? And do I have mail flows into websites? And when you untangle that, then all of a sudden it becomes more than just what is the right tools to do the migration, of which there are a few. And then once you've sort of looked at that, it's around, okay, what aren't the tools going to do for me, right? So if I use tools and processes to do my migration, what hasn't worked, what's going to be left? And that's where we have some customizations as well that can support putting the business back together after you've completed the migration from A to B, and that's quite important.
Great. Can you tell us where are you in your current, migration, project? What are the kind of milestones that you're anticipating in the next few months?
Sure. So yeah, we're right in the coal phase. So we're hitting UAT in the next few weeks' time, and our migration will complete at the end of June. So we've gone through a lot of those design conversations, as Stefan just mentioned. Actually, you kind of reflect on what you just said there as well. The kind of piece around, as a client, we have an expectation of what that migration is going to look like, and then you have someone like Insight come in and they help take you on a journey. That's certainly something we experience where I've personally been working on this for over 2 years, and we've done a lot of research. We've done a lot of conversations with different people across the industry. We paid for an independent contractor who got us to a point, but it's not until you sit down and you really start mapping out where it is that you want to go and how do you want to get there, where you start to recognize the complexities in some specific areas. Simple things like, hey, we've got loads of our dashboards built on Google Sheets today. what's going to happen when we migrate over? Well, actually, they pull information from Salesforce. They're going to have different formulas. That's not going to migrate very easily to Excel. So how do we get ahead of those types of challenges and recognize that? And I think that's where those design conversations, co-authoring it, comes in really crucial. So yeah, and I think that's helped maintain us on the milestones where we feel really comfortable kind of going into UAT in a few weeks' time.
Mm-hmm. Great. You mentioned some very interesting end user scenarios as you kind of look beyond like migration, helping the users. Can you tell us some of those that they're going to get used to? What are possibly like the challenges that they will encounter as they move to and get familiar with the new solution?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been at Mintel 3 years, so I can say this comfortably because I wasn't part of the previous kind of decisions that got us where we are. But we've been a bit messy. We're a 52-year-old company, and we still act a bit like a startup teenager with growing pains. On a Monday, we want to be a startup. On a Wednesday, we want to be an enterprise. And that's created a lot of mess that I think Insight have probably delve deeper into. And there's some things that, one of the things we've learned is as we're going through that process, you pick up a rock, and then underneath that rock is something you've never even considered, and you pick up another and it's something you actually never considered. And that's one of the challenges we've found is because we have been so siloed with how we've created processes, technology, how we purchase technology, they're the types of user complexities we're facing into. And it's simple things. We've got an inside sales team that at the moment put a lot of volume through their emails. Their inbox is currently, I think, our biggest one had something like 1.8 terabytes, wasn't it? Yeah. So, it's working through that and helping them recognize, okay, hold on, this is a problem. You shouldn't be having that much data in your inbox, first off. Secondly, it's going to be a problem when we move over to Microsoft because the service is slightly different. So we need to think about that. And it's, that's where I think, again, having that technical support for us enables us to focus on that people part. So as we're recognizing those little challenges, we can sit down with that team and say, hey, talk us through your process. How do you currently work? Well, hold on. First off, why is none of that information in CRM? Why are you tracking all of your conversations in your email and holding on to all those attachments? You don't need it. So I think that's a really good example of where we're recognizing those user challenges, but having a team dedicated to the technical side gives us so much confidence that we can then really get deep with the user base to move things forwards. But yeah, it's tricky. You can never plan for absolutely every single thing that is going to be a consideration. I won't say a challenge. They're all considerations at this point.
Great, yeah, absolutely. Coming back to thank you, Jack. For that, I think the examples really bring to life some of the real scenarios that you need to deal with, with immigration adoption. Coming back to Insight with Ryan and Stefan, I know you've helped companies like Mintel, but also a broad range of different, customers as well. Could you talk a little bit about what you encountered at Mintel, but also like other kind of scenarios from your other clients that you've helped through this process?
Yeah, for sure. And as we mentioned before, in the migration space, every customer's different challenges. If we look at Mintel, moving from the G Suite product to M365 E5 and Copilot brings its challenges, but we also have customers that are existing 365 as you users as well. So a lot of what we do is with customers that have very aggressive merger and acquisition strategies, what can quite quickly grow from a 1,500 user organization to double the size in a period of 12 months. And that globally as well. So acquiring businesses in different parts of the UK, across EMEA and beyond, over the pond here in the States as well. You can imagine the challenges of doing something like that, where each tenant is in a different state, is in a different server as well. So doing things like that for customers in that space, again, across industries like engineering, manufacturing, retail, we've got plenty of experience in. But with the certain different nuances and complexities that brings, it's always interesting really approaching this, and Jack's alluded to this as well, is trying to understand beyond the technical side and try and understand that end user engagement, so we can really drive change within the organization. A lot of the time that we look at businesses certainly that have those aggressive merger and acquisition strategies, is to actually look at, okay, the core group of business, what is the state of that? You know, what are their policies? What are, you know, if you could close your eyes and think, oh, what does a future vision look like for the group of companies, and how do we get to that, so that every other business that you acquire then falls in and becomes a part of that journey, and everyone's unified in that approach and sees a way forward. So we see a lot of work in that space being quite challenging, you know, as Jack said as well. In that case, with 1,200 users, even you have certain people pushing back, or people are resistant to change with technology, and that is a challenge. But I think ultimately, when they're on the journey and they're making decisions around that adoption of technology and seeing some of the benefits it brings, you know, it certainly becomes a lot easier. And actually, we do start to see, once we either migrate people to 365 or the existing users of 365, they start to consume more of what they've invested in. You know, the amount of conversations I have with customers that are even on, you know, the E5 suite, the holy grail of the product stack.
And getting to use more of what they already own.
But surprisingly, initially, you could have a conversation, you know, 12 months before, and they're utilizing barely 50% of what they're using. But they have a handful of other product that they've invested in, which seems crazy, right? But, you know, certainly over that period of time, and seeing that adoption rate drive up, and seeing the benefits that brings to business is really satisfying. Yeah.
I've just come off the back of that as well, and say, as a customer of a partner, you have the choice of how you want to work with that partner. And for me, it's about how do you get the culture within your project team to see the partner you're working with as a genuine partner or partnership. And that's what we've been able to do between ourselves at Mintel and Insight is, and you know, transparently, we're not in the day-to-day now, the three of us. The teams, though, are completely ingrained together and working closely together. So they have those personal relationships to a point where we have the right levels of accountability within the projects where they can hold each other to account. But crucially, they're working together, and it's not, you know, I've been in a situation where I've sat there and gone, on the client, you have to do it like this, and this is the outcome we want. It never works that well. The other side of it is if you can use the expertise that's there available and allow that to complement the skill sets you've got in your organization, you get to a far better outcome. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the relationship we've been able to build and the outcomes we're getting at the moment, but we had a great conversation about that yesterday.
It was good, actually. Yeah, I mean, and also migrations are not all one, or it's not A or B. You haven't got to do everything all at once or not at all. So in the case of Mintel, it was, okay, we want to move to the Microsoft stack away from Google, and some of it is cost pressures, but parts of the business aren't ready to move to the Microsoft stack. So you start getting into a situation where you've got coexistence in the estate, and coexistence happens quite a lot. So you might decide you're going to migrate over the course of 12 months because business change happens slower in your organization. So then we look at, in our design phase, as a coexistence bit, which is, okay, so we're going to move these parts of the business to Microsoft 365. How do they now operate with the rest of the business? And that can happen at the collaboration part of the environment, but also at the application stack as well. And the client-facing part of the business may also not be ready to migrate. And that's kind of where we have to collaborate.
So Jack, you talked about like solving for like short, near-term, objectives that you have, around your data infrastructure, unifying that, the collaboration aspects of it, the improved data management, the collaboration, aspects of it. Let's talk about the future as well, like a little bit more. I know you touched on AI, but we can't avoid that question. A lot of the businesses can't avoid that question and looking kind of ahead. Could you talk a little bit about like how you're trying to solve for near-term operational objectives and efficiencies, cost and effort and collaboration, but also preparing the way for how your organization wants to adopt, AI and get started. And I'd love your perspective plus the perspective from inside as well, as you help a lot of clients, through this. Yep.
Yeah, I think one of the most dangerous things you can have in an organization is when digital transformation is just considered a one and done, a project. It has a life cycle, it ends and then you move on. And that's something that we're really clear on at Minto, is that day one doesn't mean project's complete. We stop thinking about it. We stop working on it. Day one means that's day one of the service started. Now our continuous improvement program kicks in. And that's where, for us, where we're starting to focus now is thinking about what day one looks like versus what day 100 looks like versus what day 365 looks like. Initially, that's Copilot. Thinking about how do we onboard Copilot as we migrate over, and it's making smart decisions now as we're creating that SharePoint environment. How are we getting the right permissions in place, right security considerations, so that as we're onboarding Copilot, we're not having to redo a lot of that work. We're moving the data. We don't want to move the data and then have to reconfigure it all in the new instance. And the other side of it is looking at the choices of applications we now have within the Microsoft stack, and particularly the Power Platform is something we're very excited about. And one of the things we're actually doing is starting to invest in a team dedicated to Copilot Studio and the Power Platform. So we have a team of people who can work with our user groups, where we can start to democratize the internal innovation that we want to start to spread out. But we do it in a controlled way, and we have a team of experts who can take away all of those ideas, prioritize them, and build the right capabilities. So I think that they're the two things that we're really going after in the short term. The other side of it is communication, collaboration. They're both big drivers of us wanting to move to the Microsoft stack. Particularly collaboration, the use of the Teams environment is something that we're focusing heavily on our initial change in adoption, but we know that it's not going to stick on day one. It's going to need a lot of reinforcement over 3 to 6 months post migration, and we're going to have to learn and figure out things as we go through that journey. But particularly communication is an area that we want to focus on. I don't know how your organizations feel, but at the moment our communication strategy internally feels a little bit stiff, a little bit corporate. Everything goes out via an email. So how can we start to look at some of the other available choices through the likes of Viva, etc., maybe look at some upgrading services in the future as we onboard more of the tools.
I would love to hear from either Ryan or Stefan there.
Yeah, and just I know you
AI adoption, so looking to the future.
Yeah, right. You said about a value question that definitely let's not, because I mean what I picked up in a lot of conversation we're having here today is particularly in the SMB space.
Yes.
Yeah. The best time is now, and to really, yes, there's an air of uncertainty around adopting AI, and it's quite scary, right? Especially from a security perspective. But to really drive benefits and drive that organizational change, you've got to take that leap of faith, and I think particularly in Minto's situation, by moving to 365 E5, that's a big bang approach. That's a huge change, right? So that moving from one ecosystem to another brings changes and challenges. But doing that with Copilot as well can seem quite daunting. It's almost, for one of an analogy, almost like feeling like you're giving the caveman an iPhone. But it really, to really drive that change and look at this strategically, doing two hand in hand when you're moving data, especially what John's referring to here, using other applications to bring it to life. That's absolutely a space where we want to get to, and we can. We're actually having some really interesting conversations now about that adoption strategy and planning that along with the migration, so that it brings the benefits to the end users, because again, a lot of we're referring today, that end user experience is super important. Yeah. And that spans to a lot of businesses that we're working with within Insight, whether they have recently migrated over, or they're existing very mature users of 365. AI new to them. AI tool is new to them. How do we really try and understand how they function as a business and bring those scenarios and use cases to life is challenging. But we have expertise in that space to help. right the way through on that life cycle. So
Absolutely.
understanding of the product, deployment of that product, driving change, and then again, that change in adoption, the user engagement of the tool.
Absolutely. Thank you. As a final, wrap up, Jack, would you mind giving a summary of your expert tips, around migration adoption in general for Microsoft 365?
Yeah, I think quite honestly, my biggest piece of advice would be the vast majority of us in this room will do this type of thing once or twice in our careers, hopefully. So my biggest piece of advice would be, if you're going through that journey or you're thinking about going through that journey, embrace it and enjoy it. There's loads to learn as part of that. It's a really exciting thing to go through for the organization. To be a big part of that, I think, is really rewarding. And put your customers or your people at the heart of it, depending on what your company culture is. Because that's really why, in my opinion, we all do this type of work. Is we're not doing it because of we want to put our own profile out there. Most of us, my assumption is, we do this type of work because we care about making things easier for people. We like seeing a reward at the end of it, which is seeing how someone saved time on the process that used to be really painful for them, or you reduce the number of tickets going into your IT support team. So it's finding those rewarding things and putting it at the heart of what you're doing in the first place. But enjoy the journey. I mean, it can be stressful. It can be tough. It can sometimes you sit there and think, God, no one is thanking us for this. But if you can get through those tough moments, you get to the end of it, the reward for the organization, for you, and in my opinion, the people who work for you, is that's the true reason why you would want to go through that type of experience.
Appreciate that. On that note, thank you. So Troy and I would like to thank you, Jack, Ryan, Stefan, for joining us, today, and for our audience here. Hopefully you got a lot of expert tips, and real experience of migrating to Microsoft 365, and got some great advice, and tips. We just want to end here. We've got a recap of some of the most common concerns. We started there from our customers. And here are some of our suggestions as you move forward with your migration and adoption, efforts. Here's a quick summary of our tips and resources. If you're still working through the business value, aspects of consolidating Microsoft 365, we've got that a tool to help you build that value. We've got resources and services across Microsoft and our partners to help you through that migration process itself. And then as you think through your end users, and that really having a focus on enabling your end users in that human experience that Jack had mentioned earlier, we've got adoption resources through our adoption hub and our switch to Microsoft 365 resources. Check those out. Hopefully you walked away with things like, oh, I didn't know about those resources or services, that are available to me. Hopefully we've added to your knowledge about what's available to you to get help, Microsoft 365. And as Jack mentioned, I'd like to pile on to that, enjoy the journey. We're here to help you. Microsoft and our partners are here to help you take those next steps. Yep. Thank you so much.